Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Wild Knights podcast.
Hosted by a Knights fan.
And a Wild fan.
And, as always, covering the weird, wacky, and wonderful from around the NHL, PWHL, World Junior Hockey Championships, and soon to be the Four Nations face-off, as well as whatever the hell else happens in the hockey world.
My God, it's been a minute.
Well, I mean, we both kind of were on vacation. And
it's hard to pack your microphone and all the tech that you need.
And there's another lost episode that may come out of this from the last time I was on vacation. So, you never know. We tried our best, but the audio quality was just so garbage.
That's why. Because nothing is relevant
never
anymore.
Never going to be seen again.
Nothing's relevant anymore, so it's fine.
Yeah.
We would rather go longer and not produce than produce sub-quality stuff by our standards.
Then we get to yell and talk about a month's worth of headlines in an hour.
Yeah. I'm sipping straight out of the penalty box cup.
And I am just drinking the cup of doom and gloom right now. But we'll get to that.
Doom and gloom.
So I guess we may as well start with the big headlines that happened since we went off the air. One of the biggest of which being the United States of America has won the World Junior Hockey Championships.
USA.
But that was not a surprise.
Yeah.
Now, it is the first time in the USNDP's history that they've won back-to-back World Junior Championships.
Well, I was going to say, it's a surprise that Latvia did not go further.
Yeah, I am always a fan of the underdog teams. You will catch me pulling for Kazakhstan and Latvia.
Well, can we shift our focus real quick from, the underdogs and the EAs and...
Yeah.
What the heck was going on with Team Canada?
Oh, yeah. No.
Because Twitter was having a field day with that.
So
holy crap.
I know this is a month-old controversy now because this happened over the New Year's, and we're sitting here on January.
3 weeks ago.
We're sitting here January 19th.
It was 2 to 3 weeks ago at this point.
But Canada left behind some of the best players.
They left so many people on the table.
I think there's 4 names that were flying around, and for reasons escaping comprehension, these 4 players are on pace to combine for 500 and something points in juniors this year. Yeah. So it makes no sense.
No, there were multiple people on Twitter that were like, this person was snubbed, this person was snubbed, this person was snubbed. And I'm like, I'm sure Team Canada people are not feeling so great about that. And
so they lose to Latvia and the US in the seeding in the pool play. Mm-hmm. The Latvia one is arguably the biggest upset in World Juniors history, especially based on what happened.
I mean, they had the U.S. for a minute, and then I think we blew it wide open in the third.
But Latvia beating Canada for, I believe it was their 3rd ever win in the World Juniors top division.
That's crazy, man.
Seeing as they only won their first game a year or 2 ago as a program in the top level, because there's a ladder to the World Junior program. And that's where Kazakhstan came from. That's why they're in this World Juniors, and not, I believe, Austria got booted down to the bottom level or to the middle level again. But Latvia coming out and beating Canada in Canada was a shock to the system. And we all knew that Canada from that point on was vulnerable. And then, of course, for the second straight year, they get bounced by Czechia in the quarterfinals. And of the players that got snubbed, there's the conversation about the one player that didn't get snubbed. Now, the reason the players that were snubbed was mostly because their age. They were underage. They were 18. So they were just barely eligible. They were just barely out of being able to play for the 18U team. Mm-hmm. One of the players that was that age and still made the team anyway was Gavin McKenna. Now, he's considered to be the next Bedard, the next McDavid, the next Crosby. He's incredibly good. So when Team Canada takes a 5-minute major in the quarterfinals against Czechia, who do you think serving the penalty?
Him.
For reasons escaping comprehension, he serves a 5-minute major penalty. And if Canada could have just gotten their knees out of the way, they probably handily beat Czechia. But 2 kneeing penalties and 7 penalty minutes later, the game's over.
Yeah.
And so that kind of cleared the runway for Team USA.
Do you want to hear... So in Group A, it was us, Finland, Canada, Latvia, and Germany, correct?
Yeah, I think Germany went over.
Yeah. They had 1 overtime loss and 3 losses.
Nice.
Guess what their goals for to against average was?
I'm going to assume not good.
8 to 20.
Ooh.
Compared to the U.S., which had 22 to 10.
Well, so of every team in the tournament, Canada scored the least amount of goals. Of every team that made the quarterfinal, Canada had the least amount of goals.
At 10?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They scored nothing.
Well, Finland also had 10.
That's not some, and Canada didn't score an even strength goal until the 4th game of pool play. Yeah. So there's going to be some changes. I mean, hell, the changes have already happened. Changes start from the top. Not just the top of Hockey Canada, but the top of Canada. Because shortly after that World Juniors defeat, Justin Trudeau resigned.
I don't think the two are related.
Correlation, causation. It's just funny. Changes start from the top.
I'm not. No, we're not.
We're not wading. We're not wading into it.
No,
but
God no.
It's just it's a funny joke that was all over Twitter. But that was the World Juniors.
Okay, we spent too much time on the juniors.
Spent 4 minutes on it. That's
yeah, but it's already been covered. It's been asked and answered. The U.S. won. Canada was a shit show.
And so then the NHL returned to its regularly scheduled. We turned to our regularly scheduled program of the NHL.
Yeah.
And things were pretty calm. The good teams were good. The bad teams were bad. And then the last week.
Oh, the Dallas Stars got slapped with that fine for having, quote, optional
yes,
practice.
The Stars got in trouble for holding an optional practice.
What was it, $100,000 fine from
the NHL for holding an optional practice during the Christmas holiday. This is the second year in a row that a team has been fined.
Especially when the coach said something along the lines of, well, the people that know they need to show up to optional practice show up. They know who they are. And that was not a good quote.
And so they're the second team in as many years to be fined for breaking the CBA's rules on the Christmas holiday, because the Leafs did it last year. They traveled on a day they weren't supposed to.
Yeah, but I understand that, because Christmas break is what, like the 24th through the 26th?
Yes.
So if they're traveling, especially somewhere far, I would rather go the night before and get some sleep.
But the rules are the rules.
I know the rules are the rules, but then don't schedule games for the 27th.
But they need to play the games.
Yeah, but then designate like the second half of the 26th a travel day or something in the next CBA.
Well, we'll get there. That's a conversation for the summer.
But it's because I'm pretty sure we played in Dallas on the 27th too. So like we had to travel.
Yeah, and I know Vegas played in San Jose that day.
Yeah, which San Jose to Vegas is a lot.
It's a 45-minute flight.
That's
or
a
a
lot
3-hour
shorter.
bus ride. But that was one of the more interesting developments to come out of the NHL. Mm-hmm. And amazingly enough, not a lot happened, and we can fast forward to last week.
I mean, a lot happened with our teams, but we'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll get there. And now we can fast forward to an innocuous Wednesday night game between the Edmonton Oilers and the Minnesota Wild. Now let me set the scene for you as a neutral third party.
On my
as a neutral party. Who would you say is the most marketable player in the NHL?
Ovechkin.
Who's the second most marketable player in the NHL?
I'm not giving him that.
You're not going to give him that?
No, I'm not.
So over the break,
because what happens this week directly makes him not as marketable as he used to be.
Over the break, the NHL announced a major partnership with McDonald's, and it saw the league's greatest stars recreate "quote unquote" a commercial that I believe included Mark Messier and Wayne Gretzky back in the '90s, where they were playing. It was basically a hockey recreation of the famous game of horse between Larry Bird and Michael Jordan, where they had Gretzky and I think it was Messier hanging out on the ice, shooting from various spots, and the first to miss had to buy the other one a Big Mac. And so they recreated that commercial with Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid.
It's also specifically McDonald's in Canada, so
don't look for it here in the States.
Yes,
you're not going to see the Mac. You're not going to see the Big Mac David burger or the Poppy burger anywhere here in the U.S.
Yeah, the smoky quarter poppy.
Yeah, the smoky quarter poppy,
or the power play poutine.
Okay, I'm kind of upset about that.
I know,
awesome.
me too.
But we're digressing because this is important.
They also have a spicy junior chirpy. Anyway,
the reason I bring up this commercial is it's important. Connor McDavid is one of the most visible players in the NHL right now. Now, sure, we've got Ovechkin and his chase for Gretzky, and I'm not happy about it because I'm gonna be out $20 here in a few weeks.
He was out for only 4 weeks. If he was out for 5, it probably would be null.
I know. And you've got Crosby as one of the greatest forwards of all time, and you've got whatever the hell's happening everywhere else. But through all that, you have McDavid. And it's Wednesday night. It's TNT. The McDavid glazing is already at critical mass because you've got Bissonnette up there, and he, I believe, would do unspeakable things to be close to McDavid. Mm-hmm. But what is it? Was it in the second period? I think it was at the end of the second period.
I don't know. That game made me rage.
I'm in the process of setting up a new TV while this is happening, so I'm only half paying attention. As soon as I finally get the TV almost dialed in, Edmonton's got a prolonged shift in the offensive zone. Mm-hmm. And McDavid circles out to the top of the point. He's covered by Marcus Johansson.
Poor Johansson.
And McDavid gets rid of the puck. 1, 2, 3. Flying elbow to Johansson's face.
And
Johansson goes down like he's been shot. It was very funny to watch in slow motion.
It's not a funny hit at all. It's actually a dirty fucking play.
It was not pretty.
It should have been a 5-minute major.
Johansson goes down on the elbow. McDavid looks around. Oh, what did I do? I didn't touch him.
Even though you can clearly see plain as day that he actually intentionally lifts his elbow.
He chicken wings the elbow out nonchalantly, catches him right in the chin. Johansson's now on IR with a concussion.
And this is the second player in this year, actually in the last month, that we've lost to an elbow to the head and a resulting concussion. Brock Faber.
It was the second time in 7 games for the Wild.
Yeah.
So that was something the Wild were accustomed to. Now, we'll get more into the Wild issues.
I hate that you're like accustomed to that because you should not be accustomed to... No, let me finish. You should not be accustomed to having your players go on IR because the refs miss a major penalty call and then be like, oh, well, now the Wild suck. Well, yeah, the Wild suck because our top 4 defensemen were out. I'm just glad that the slew foot on freaking New Year's was called.
Oh, you asked me why the game the other night against Nashville was so many fights?
Uh-huh.
That was the first time they'd played them since that hit. And so the guy who tripped Spurgeon got the shit kicked out of him.
I'm fucking glad.
Yeah, he got just beaten into a pulp. And sure, the Wild lost, but I think they won the moral victory.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you realize, too, that they took out our captain that was, 3 weeks ago? So they said that he'd be back in 2 to 3 weeks. It's now week 3. I have not seen him.
He's on the ice. He was on the ice yesterday for morning skate.
No, he's been on the ice, but he hasn't been playing.
Soon.
Yeah, I know, but they've also been saying that with Kaprizov, too.
But we'll get there. You'll have your opportunity to commiserate about the Wild. Because right now we're talking about Icarus flying too close to the sun.
Oh, no, his wings already got burned.
So.
But I'll let you finish.
That was the first instant of McDavid. That was very unusual for a league superstar to do that.
Well, it's unusual for a league superstar to do that and then have nothing called on him.
So.
It's not unusual for him not to get a penalty.
Yes, I'm watching the play. Everybody's over here. We're watching it. And I say, that's not a penalty. He's probably going to get fined for that. No way he doesn't at least get fined for that. No. Sure, $5,000, which is the maximum allowable under the CBA right now.
Hines was pissed.
Yeah.
Like red face. You don't see Hines.
But I was expecting to go to bed, open Twitter the next morning, and see the Office of Player Safety has fined Connor McDavid $5,000 for an elbow on Marcus Johansson. Lunchtime rolls around the next day, nothing. Mm-hmm. The day ends, nothing. So he's not going to be fined for the elbow. Mm-hmm. They play Colorado the next day after that. So 2 days later, Edmonton plays Colorado. Mm-hmm. And McDavid cross-checks someone in the face.
Because it's fucking McDavid.
Because it's McDavid. And I don't remember who it was because I wasn't actively watching the game. I saw it on Twitter, but he didn't get a penalty for it. Guy left the game with an injury. He isn't out anything, but he also, like Johansson, had a history of concussions. Mm-hmm. So that is 2 hits in 2 straight games by McDavid on players with histories of concussions to the head. Mm-hmm. One resulting in a concussion and the other resulting in, I would imagine, a bloody nose. Because it was cross-checked to the face.
So minimally, but usually bloody nose, we know, in this league usually means broken nose.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, the NHL's got to do something this time. Mm-hmm. They've got to do something this time.
Nope.
Nothing. No fine, no hearing, no nothing. So we fast forward to Edmonton's next game, which is a grudge match against Vancouver. These are two Pacific powerhouses. It's the second place team in the Pacific at the start of the game and the fourth place team in the Pacific. Vancouver is a dumpster fire, which we haven't really talked about because that is still an ongoing thing, the whole Elias Pettersson, JT Miller saga. Apparently, JT Miller wasn't even supposed to play because he was about to be traded to the Rangers, and then the trade fell through like 20 minutes before the game started. So... And
we'll cover that in the next episode.
We'll cover that in the next episode.
Yeah, we'll devote some time for that.
We need to do more research, and something has to happen first before we can regale the tale of the Canucks.
Yeah, but I think we can give an update about what's going on over there in the next episode because we can actually devote some time to it.
Agreed. So, Vancouver really needs the win. They're up 3-2 in the dying minutes of the game.
Of course.
McDavid is tied up with what I can only describe as one of the smallest rats in the NHL, Connor Garland. Now, in another life, I would have loved to have Connor Garland in Vegas. He would have been awesome. He doesn't fit the personality prototype at all. And, he would also be great in Minnesota, too.
Sorry,
he's
I'm just laughing over here.
And he's angy. But he plays...
So he's Spurgeon with a temper.
He's Spurgeon as a forward. He plays very hard, and he scores a lot of greasy goals.
Well, okay. To be fair, Spurgeon does not have the temper, but it's a forward with a temper.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And so Garland and McDavid are locked in combat. I believe McDavid tries to put Garland in some kind of mating press on the ice, just body presses him down to the ice.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they're fighting to get up. And McDavid...
And this is where it gets bad.
Punches him in the back of the head while they're getting up. I'd assume that just kind of happens.
No, I meant this is where it gets bad. And now it gets worse.
Then it gets worse. McDavid and Garland get up. There's 5 seconds to go in the game at this point. McDavid spins around, two-hand cross-checks him into the side of the head.
Yep, again.
So that is, if you're scoring at home or even if you're alone, that's 3 games in a row for McDavid.
Yep.
3 shots to the head of opposing players, resulting in 1 for sure injury, 1 probable injury that isn't long-term, and we don't know about what's happened with Garland yet because it just happened.
Yeah.
He skated off and was probably fine, but it's the principle of the thing.
So
the NHL's got to do something, right? And this is what prompted us, our podcast, to make a triumphant return to Twitter. I get a text last night. It's 11:45. The hit just happened.
Yep.
Aaron texts me. Did you see what happened? No. Look at what McDavid did. You should go say something. And so I spent 45 minutes
crafting a beautiful set of tweets.
I was on fire last night.
We both had the late night. We were both night owls last night. Oh my God, there's so many tweets.
There are very few things that I hate more than my precious Golden Knights losing. And McDavid getting away with shit is one of them. Now, the entire sports universe was already on edge about superstar players getting preferential treatment because the Chiefs played yesterday. And they got away with so much shit in their eventual win over the Texans.
At this point, I'm just boycotting the NFL.
Honestly. But to see McDavid getting the same preferential treatment, because he finally got a penalty, though. He was given a match penalty for that, but he wasn't given anything else. And my guess is I think you get an automatic hearing or automatic talking to by the NHL if you commit a match penalty. But it's 11 o'clock Central Time at the time of recording this podcast, and I haven't heard anything about McDavid and any supplementary or any supplemental discipline.
Yeah, I'm going to check to see if there's an update.
There better be because
Yep.
What is it?
Literally an hour ago, NHL player safety. Edmonton's Connor McDavid will have a hearing for cross-checking Vancouver's Garland. Date and time TBD.
So he will get suspended. Because the hearing, I believe, is a minimum of 3 games. I think.
Someone in the comments made the comment that McDavid is invisible and owns the Canucks. Player safety knows this.
What?
Yeah. I'm going to send this.
Is this an Edmonton fan by chance?
Probably. Okay, so I'm going to get on my soapbox now because now this is making me mad. So perfect segue into what I want to talk about because McDavid's not above the law. No one in hockey should be.
Nobody's bigger than the game.
Great example. The Wild have played numerous games, and every freaking time there seems to be a major penalty. Like yesterday, last night in the game, Jiricek got his stick slashed out of his hand, and then hit in the face in the same move. Like a high stick to the face. Did not call anything. Hines was also pissed about that. So at this point, I say to the NHL, what the fuck what the fuck? What do players need to do in order to feel like they are going to be safe on the ice? Because at this point, you are basically, by having McDavid not do this 3 fucking times and finally getting a call from player safety, what the fuck does that say to people? That says that you can get away with shit on the ice, and we are going to see more injuries, more concussions, more probably issues with CTE and substance abuse.
Yeah.
When the fuck is it enough?
And
seriously, when is it enough?
Well, I'm going to pose you an interesting question because it kind of highlights the point that I feel you're making. Mm-hmm. What would have happened? Let's go back. Let's wind this all the way back to his first offense, which was arguably his worst one.
Yeah.
Because that one resulted in a concussion.
Yeah, and
not a good look.
Fuck all was done.
Yeah. What happens? All right. You are, I think it's George Peros is the head of the Office of Player Safety.
Yeah.
You're Peros. It's not Connor McDavid hitting Johansson in the face with the elbow. Let's say it's Matt Rempe or Tom Wilson or Ryan Reeves.
I've already seen so many tweets about this, so I already know.
Or hell, Keegan Colasar.
Anyways.
What do? Do you suspend them because they're not a high-profile player? Actions are the exact same. Circumstances are the exact same.
Well, this is where I think they fucked up because player safety should have made that call to McDavid. Because here's my thing. I don't give a shit that he's a superstar. I don't give a shit if he's smashing records.
I don't care.
You play fucking hockey and you play it as cleanly as you can. Yeah, shit happens. I get that. Calls happen, things happen, a knee-to-knee happens, whatever. A great example is Eichel last season in the Minnesota game that we saw where he got
a 5-minute major and was kicked out of the game for what was at the time, at least what we thought in the arena, was a marginal spearing penalty. Mm-hmm. I watched it back. He wasn't trying to spear Kaprizov, but it's one of those things that you have to call.
My point exactly. You have to call a spearing penalty. Why the fuck don't you have to call an elbow to the head?
And that was a big player on a big player.
Yeah.
And so it happens.
And I get it. Refs miss stuff, but to the Edmonton fans that are like, oh, he hit his head on the ice and got a concussion. You don't fucking hit your head on the ice and get a concussion. So what I say to you guys is get off your fucking high horse, come off of it for 5 minutes because you are actively ruining the game for everyone when you go and you defend Connor McDavid by giving someone a fucking concussion. Yeah. That is not okay. And at this point, sometimes I actively cannot watch hockey games when there's been at least a major or two that have been missed because I'm like, this isn't fun for me anymore.
Yeah, there's a
It's not fun watching a game when you know that your players are probably going to get hurt because the refs aren't doing fuck all on the ice.
Now, I'm gonna compare it to a hit that we both have a lot of experience with. A hit that we've had God knows how many conversations off air about.
Yep.
Go back to the last game between Vegas and Minnesota.
The Colasar
First
hit.
period, Keegan Colasar and David Jiricek.
Yes.
Now, that probably was a boarding penalty.
I'm so glad you were
probably by the letter of the law was probably a minor penalty for boarding.
Yeah, I don't think it's a major. I think it's a minor.
Yeah, it probably was a minor, and if they had called that, they probably would have called the one on Boldy in the third period. But what happened with the Jiricek and Colasar hit was Jiricek went left, and Colasar was expecting him to not go left, and they just happened to meet in the middle. And unfortunately, Jiricek had to leave the game for a short time. I think it was just to go through concussion screening.
Probably. But he was pissed.
He wound up being fine. I think he was more pissed that he had to leave the game than the hit that actually happened.
No, that's what I mean. He was pissed he had to leave the game.
Some 55 on 55 violence. But that hit didn't warrant any... That hit didn't have a penalty and didn't warrant any subsequent discipline.
Now, can I say this?
Yeah.
Now, I feel like it should have been a boarding call because that was not a great hit.
Most likely.
It didn't look super clean. Like it could have started clean, but it didn't end up clean. Because those hits happen. I also don't think, though, it would have warranted a call from player safety.
No.
I also think that in cases like that, it's very hard for the refs to see what's happening.
Yeah.
Because one, that happens quickly, and two, if you don't have the angle, it just looks like they got tied up in the boards.
And the thing that sets this apart, and the reason I bring it up, is it was so very obviously an accident Kolesar was going in to lay the body, obviously, but he wasn't going in to take Juracek's foot out, get tied up, and then drive him into the boards.
Well, and even the announcers are like, "Oh, Kolesar does not look good after that." Like he
looked like he felt terrible about it. And so that I bring that hit up because that is one of the more high profile hits. And the Office of Player Safety has had a kind of a rough go of it because they had that Philly player get suspended too, or they had to suspend that Flyers player for that flying elbow to the head or a flying shoulder to the head a couple days before this whole McDavid thing happened.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The reason why you see more elbows and shoulders to the head is because the refs and player safety are not doing anything about it.
I was trying to think about a play that had a similar storyline involving an elbow and a high profile player. And I was immediately cast back to a play that happened, I believe it was last year around this time in a game between Vegas and New York, where Pavel Dorofeev got elbowed in the head by Jacob Trouba. No penalty was called in the game, and then Trouba was subsequently suspended for 3 games because Dorofeev had a concussion.
Yeah.
He wound up missing the majority of the rest of the season. And that play was eerily similar in terms of impact to what McDavid did to Johansson in Minnesota. But I guess being the captain of the Oilers is more valuable than being the captain of the Rangers. Well, former captain of the Rangers.
Yeah.
Because he got traded. We didn't talk about that.
I love how everyone's like, yeah. I mean, hockey Twitter is having a field day because all the Oilers fans are like, well, if refs called the game, McDavid wouldn't have to defend himself. Yet you say shit like that when literally it's against McDavid. You're like, well, it's justified. No, it's not.
He's faster than everybody. People are gonna have to try a little harder to slow him down, but that's what you get.
It's a yes, there is hockey is a contact sport.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that I am getting at, because I understand that you can't put everyone in bubble wrap and get them on the ice. The refs can't call everything that even looks remotely like a penalty, because then it's not a game.
Right.
But the Office of Player Safety has to find a way forward, because at this point, I feel like, I mean, I don't know if it's just because I'm paying attention more this year, but I feel like there's way more things happening.
You're paying more attention this year.
Okay.
I will say this is slightly higher than usual.
Yeah, but
only slightly.
Yeah, but even the fact that it's slightly higher, it should be going down. It should either be stagnant or going down. It shouldn't be slightly higher.
Well, I mean, the Office of Player Safety has issued out plenty of suspensions. Like Rempe got suspended 8 games for blowing up Miro Heiskanen back in December.
Yeah, but my point is obviously you're catching some things and you're letting other people slide.
And so it'll be interesting to see what they decide with this McDavid hearing, because if they decide to get him a $5,000 fine, which is the maximum they can give him under the CBA without suspending him any games, if that happens, I would imagine you're going to see total anarchy from the league's quote-unquote superstars, because the precedent has been set. If McDavid gets off scot-free for not 1, not 2, but 3 shots at opposing players' heads, 1 resulting in a concussion and the other 2 just being dirty, what do you do? Like, pick any other superstar in the league that gets pushed around.
Yeah.
Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Jack Hughes, Matthew Tkachuk, Jack Eichel, Celebrini, Bedard. The list goes on and on and on, and they see that. And they think, I can get away with gooning it up a little bit, and because I'm valuable to the league, they're never going to fucking suspend me. We may just see a recreation of like the 80s when you had Messier taking people's heads off.
Yeah, and for me, that's actually very concerning.
Yeah, I know. You're about to embark on a major research paper on this, which...
I'm not saying the theme or anything.
But you're undertaking some hockey-based research this year that should and has the potential to totally change the landscape.
I don't think it will totally change the landscape. I just think that my hope is that, because we're assigned to do a research paper for school, so I wanted to do something with the NHL. So I'm hoping that my research can at least provide a way forward.
Hey, if the right person reads it, it could be game-changing.
We'll see. Here's the thing, too. I don't know what I'm going to find. So I'm trying to kind of... No, I know. I'll definitely find something. I mean, I wouldn't be writing this topic if there wasn't case law about it. But
correct.
it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So,
and I believe that is a accurate recap of everything that we missed. Every major news story. Now,
for the most part, I mean, I'm sure we're missing something because there was a ton. I mean, shout out to the PWHL Takeover Tour.
Yeah, that the biggest crowd in PWHL history, Montreal.
In the U.S.
In the U.S.
In the U.S. in Denver, which was 14,000.
Which was a game between Montreal and Minnesota.
Yes.
Very popular game. Good to see. And then, of course, the never-ending saga, days of our Canucks.
Yeah.
That situation is totally...
We'll save that.
We'll save that for another day because that needs a flow chart and a timeline and some stats that are absolutely absurd.
Yeah. I will also give a shout out to the PWHL Takeover Tour in Seattle because they hit about 12,000. So
good for them.
I don't want to just be like, oh, Denver and forget
Denver.
Seattle. I mean, Vancouver also had a crap ton of people show up. I don't remember the exact number for that, but
it's been successful.
Yes.
It has been successful.
Which bodes well for the league.
Yes.
I think that's about, I mean, Britta Curl got lit up like Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I saw.
By a Montreal player when they played a couple last night, 2 days ago, in the last couple days. But I don't remember who it was, but everyone's like, that was iconic.
Yep.
So
hey, it's fine.
Shout out to that. Anyways, I think we're ready to go into your deep, deep, dark pit of despair over there.
All right. When we left, last you heard from us, the Knights were a 5th place overall in the NHL team. They were good. They weren't great. God,
so dramatic.
Edmonton wasn't there. Vancouver wasn't there. Winnipeg was very good. Winnipeg and Minnesota were your best 2 teams. And then the traditional Vegas thing happens. They get blown out 6-3 against Edmonton. And then they come to Minnesota. They take advantage of a depleted Minnesota Wild with an injured Philip Gustafsson, and they go on to win 9 of their next 10. With the one loss being on New Year's Eve against the Montreal fucking Canadiens, the 31st overall team in the NHL. I know because I was there. Had a 2-0 lead and then blew it. And it was a little concerning because the Knights had kind of started to do that thing that scares the hell out of me, where they started their winning streak playing incredibly well, just running over teams. No, like running over teams.
No, I'm sorry, not you.
What?
No, I need to stop reading the comments on this.
Stop reading the comments.
Because I'm getting a little bit hot under the collar.
I can see that. So Vegas was running over teams. And then they hit the Christmas holiday, and they have a kind of shaky game against San Jose, where they go down 3-2 and then score 2 shorthanded goals. They wind up winning 6-3. So the final score makes it look like they're running over teams, but realistically, they're not. They get home to Vegas January 29th, and
January 29th?
Yes. Or, sorry, December 29th.
I'm like, but it's January 29th.
Hasn't happened yet.
No.
December 29th, and Samsonov shuts out Calgary. And it was awesome. I was there. Calgary hasn't scored a goal against Vegas this year in 2 games. They've been shut out twice, which is awesome. And then they shit the bed against Montreal and lose, ending their winning streak. Then they come back out and they win against Philadelphia, and then they win against Buffalo. And I'm thinking, nice, Vegas is good. But then I remember that it's January now. And if you want to look at a crazy historical moment, Aaron, take a guess at how many, in franchise history, what is the most amount of games the Knights have won in the month of January?
5.
7. The average amount of games that they have won over the last 5 Januaries of games, which I have to say because there wasn't a January of games that one year. The average amount of games they've won in the last 5 months of January is 4.3. We suck in January.
Then why are you so upset? Because you always suck in January, and you sucked in January when you won the cup.
Listen. The reason we normally suck in January is because this is when the injuries happen. This is when Stone is gone. This is about the time of the year where Stone gets his magical injury and goes on LTIR, so we can buy somebody at the trade deadline. But that's not happening this year. So we get out of that homestand. Things are great. Winners of, I think at that point we were 16-3-1 in the last 20 games. Just one of the best team. We were in first place in the NHL. Best team by a mile. Largest divisional lead of any division leader in the league. Mm-hmm. And then we get shut out by the Islanders. A team at home, mind you. You want to know how many times the Islanders have shut us out in the last 3 years? 3 times. You want to know how many times we've been shut up by the other 30 teams in the NHL in the last 3 years? Mm-hmm. Twice.
Nice.
So that's a little concerning. And then the next night, we come out against the Rangers and score once and lose. So that's 1 goal in 2 games. And they're 2-2 in the month of January. And then we play Minnesota. And I think things are going back to better. Things are going back to better. We win that game minus with a little bit of a help from the officials. I will concede. We had a little bit of help from the refs. Getting a 5-on-3 that we probably shouldn't have.
You're actually admitting this?
Okay. The first call was marginal. The second one was Middleton yeeting it over the glass.
Yeah.
So,
which wouldn't have happened if we weren't on the penalty kill.
We're not doing this. We're not doing this again. We're not doing this again.
Okay, to give you guys context, that one, we were texting during the game because he was not in Minnesota at this time. Yeah, you were back in Texas, and I was upset.
Upsetty spaghetti.
So upset. And it, honestly, it stems from the fact that I feel like the last 5 to 10 games, there have been major penalties that have not been called on a Minnesota Wild player.
You were just hot about the Eurocheck hit still. You were hot about that from the second it happened.
No, I calmed down at this point. I was then upset that Bogosian was called for something that was clearly not a penalty.
That's fair. But
and then I'm just upset. I will get off my soapbox and I have like 30 seconds. I promise. I promise. Okay.
I'm timing you.
You can. Okay. So basically, the reason why I'm upset is because I feel like every time we play a game in the last like month-ish, in most of these games, we have the refs decide how the game is going to go by either not calling major penalties, by not calling it just as I see fairly, because how I know I saw your head perk up, and by that I mean calling major penalties on both sides. Okay.
Okay.
Don't shake
I'm just
your
gonna
head
let you
at
go.
me.
I'm just gonna let you go. I'm collecting my thoughts for the back half of my rant.
No, I know. And I'm upset because the Wild aren't playing well. Take that out of it. I'm still upset because I feel like the refs control the game, and this goes back to our conversation earlier about the whole McDavid thing and Office of Player Safety actually doing their fucking jobs.
Yep.
At the end of the day, the refs control the game, and when they don't call stuff, it impacts just as much as if they call something. Because if they don't call big penalties, the game gets out of control. If a player ends up leaving with a concussion, Faber and Johansson, we get nothing for the trouble. They don't get a call from player safety. We basically end up with a fucked up player and a fucked up bench because, hello, look at our bench right now.
So angry.
I am, because at this point I'm like, if the refs called stuff, would we still be in this position?
Unknown.
Would we still be, have like, I think Faber's back now, but we still have 2 of our 4, like Brodeen's still out, Spurgeon's still out, Faber was out.
You're hijacking my segment.
I know.
Stop hijacking my segment. You get your own segment.
I know.
Stop hijacking my segment.
Fine, I'll stop talking.
Thank you.
Meh.
So we get out of Minnesota.
Also, you definitely hijack my segment way more than I hijack yours.
That's fair. That's fair.
Anyways, you get out of Minnesota. You get out of.
We get our 2. We get 2 points. We get 2 points out of that Minnesota game, and
fuck that game.
We end with a positive record on the big homestand to end 2024 and begin 2025 with that quick trip to San Jose where we beat the bejesus out of them again. And
it's
so
the Sharks.
And so we go out on the road. Sure, we've lost 2 of the last 3, and those 2 were against basement teams. The Islanders were tied for last place in the Eastern Conference when we played them. Montreal was terrible when we lost to them on New Year's Eve. and the Rangers are the Rangers. So we go out on the road, and our first stop is perennial underachiever, Nashville. And I can't believe I'm going to say this. A team with as much offensive firepower as Vegas gets one shot on goal in the first period and is down 3-0 after one.
I should have brought my popcorn.
To a team that to a team that is terrible.
I should have brought my popcorn.
Now, in Vegas' own defense, they did go down 4-0. But then Pavel Dorofeyev records his first career hat trick, which is awesome. And the game gets close. And we have the opportunity with the goalie out to send it to overtime. We don't do it. And we lose. That one shot on goal in the first period is the least amount of shots in team history for a period. And Bruce Cassidy, after that game, says, and I quote, "I'm pretty sure that's the worst game this team's ever played since I came here. It's one of the worst games I've ever coached in my career."
Yeah.
And he coached some pretty crappy Boston teams. So, not a great start to the road trip. And then you got to travel to Carolina. Carolina's good. Knights get out to a lead, can't hold it. Carolina's a top 10 team in the league right now. That's okay. They try to get the goalie out. Refs miss a clear trip on Brett Burns. And then 10 seconds later, we get a too many of the ice penalty trying to pull a goalie. Not great. But it's Carolina. They're a good team. We suck against Carolina historically. But that extends it to 4 losses out of the last 5.
Yeah.
And the Knights are officially in a slump. And so I say to you, the listener, what better way to break a slump than to play the worst team in the NHL? The Chicago Blackhawks. Now, it's on the back end of a back-to-back with travel, and this was last night. So this is a little fresh in my mind. Knights go up 1-0, and then in the span of 4 minutes at the end of the first period, it goes from 1-0 to a 3-1 deficit, just like that. Now, things are okay. Because Knights tied up. Tomas Hertl scores 2 goals in the early portions of the second period, and I think everything is right with the world. And then the Blackhawks score with a minute to go in the second. And then they score on the power play early in the third, and that's the game. So that's now 5 losses out of 6 of the last 6 games. 4 of them have been to basement teams. I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes.
How many goals a game do you think the Blackhawks average this year?
2.
2.
I was going to say it's about 2.5
It's
probably.
2.3.
Wow, I was so
They
close.
average 2.35 goals a game.
I was thinking in my head, I'm like 2.5 maybe.
Yeah, they average less than 2.5 goals a game on average. They put up 5 against a cup contender.
I mean, to be fair, they got their pants beat off them in the Winter Classic, so.
That's fair. They did get blown out in the Winter Classic. And thank merciful fuck, the road trip's over. Going back home with a big old 0 points out of a possible 6 on a road trip that I had penciled in for at least 3 with Nashville and Chicago on the schedule. So there's something very wrong with the team right now.
It's January. It's like you said. I don't know why you're going all doom and gloom.
Because there are some underlying metrics that are a little bit more concerning than, oh, it's just January. Because, yes, it's just January. And we are terrible in January.
It's just January, babe.
But there are a couple of things that are concerning that are the underlying numbers. Statistically, for goals saved above expected, the defensive pair of Pietrangelo and Hanifin are the worst defense pair in the month of January in the entire NHL. It's not even fucking close. They have one of the worst plus minuses in the league right now.
Here's the thing. And this is the thing we don't talk about Petra and Hanifin. They are great they're great on D until they're not.
Yeah.
And then they look like, I don't even know what they look like.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say what they look like because I don't want to offend anyone.
Alex Pietrangelo is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, once as a captain of St. Louis and once with Vegas in 2023. He is an amazing playoff player. And when he's playing well, he can single-handedly change the outcome of games. He's that good.
Uh-huh.
The only problem is there is no delta between incredibly good and incredibly shit. And he is on his incredibly shit arc. And so that's why Bruce Cassidy puts him with Noah Hannafin, who I jokingly say with my family, Hannafin is Petrangelo's lifeboat because he doesn't make mistakes.
Chisholm and Spurgeon.
Yeah, Chisholm and Spurgeon level of stuff. And except the player who's got 2 cups is the Chisholm in this equation.
Which is hilarious to me.
So they've been playing rough.
But are they top pair defense?
Yes.
So they deserve to be top pair.
Yeah, they are very good.
Besides us shitting on them, they deserve to be top defense.
No, I give them full credit. They're both incredible defensemen, and when they play very good opponents, they can change the outcome of any game. They are single-handedly the reason we were able to shut out Edmonton back in December.
So it's really funny that you say that, though, because something just popped in my head. Your whole team... I'm sorry, I'm about to say this, and I need to say this without laughing. Your whole team is like Samsonov.
Shut up.
When you guys are on, you're incredible.
When they're off?
6-0
to Utah. Yeah.
You guys are terrible.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those things, and I'm going to theorize.
No wonder you guys went out and got Sammy.
I'm going to theorize about this in a minute. Oh, by the way, not for nothing, Thompson's 20-2 this year.
I miss Thompson.
Thompson's got back-to-back shutouts and has a .940 save percentage this year.
You guys got... I know he wanted it.
He wanted... And I have...
He wanted it.
Quick aside. I have absolutely no beef. I have absolutely no beef with Thompson going to Washington.
Yeah, because all your beef went with Marchessault.
Yes, all my beef went with Marchessault. But no, I have personally met Logan Thompson. He is an amazing human being.
No,
and I want nothing but the best for him. Yeah. I just wish he was on our team still. Now, the thing is, the good news is he's in a different conference, and so I can only say that trade directly hurt us when he beats us in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. But, I cue this up to say goaltending's not been the problem.
No, because Samsonov, everyone shits on Sammy, but he has one of the highest, high danger.
He is the number 1 in the NHL on save percentage on high danger chances.
Yep.
He saves almost 9 out of 10 high danger chances, which is best in the league by a mile.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So he's good. Hill is consistent. You get what you get. You know what you're going to get with them. And the reason that their numbers are all fucky right now is because their defense is playing like garbage in front of them.
No, I believe that.
I say this because this is a team of veterans. You've got Stone, who's been around the block before. You've got Carlson, who's been who's been on the team for 8 years.
Can I interrupt your thought for a second?
Sure.
I'm gonna fangirl for a sec.
Go for it.
Stone and Boldy's conversation at the face-off after Boldy hit him was so cute.
Yeah, no, they're players. They're chill.
I love it. Anyways, because that's their job. But
they're chill.
Anyways, I wanted to cheese about that first.
Yeah, but there's so many experienced players on this roster. Hill's won a Stanley Cup. You've got Carlson, who has been here forever. You've got Nick Waugh, who's been here forever. The entire defense core is seasoned. Maybe they've hit the point of the year where they realize that these games don't really matter. All that matters is making the playoffs.
I also think that there could be okay, I'm going to theorize for a second.
Yep.
Why does Vegas suck right now?
Because they're not.
No.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying because they're not playing defense. But is it because they don't want to risk injury, so they're playing a little bit lighter? Could that be why they suck in January? Is that a strategic decision by them?
I hadn't thought about that. Because it's always around this time of the year where players start getting hurt. It's always around this time that we have our first true long-term injury.
Yeah.
And we don't have that yet. Now, a fully healthy Vegas
knock on some wood, because you just said we don't have that yet.
A fully healthy team A fully healthy Vegas should not be losing to Chicago. And my theory is a little different. We were better when we had more players out. When we were 16-3-1 over 20, we were missing a lot of players. We were missing a lot of depth. We had Jonas Ronbjerg in the lineup. We had Tanner Lazinski in the lineup.
So do you think it's because...
I think the more experienced players just aren't trying as hard.
I was going to say there's two things that I want to ask. One, is it because you have your full roster and you have the experienced players, do you feel like you're missing that AHL I got to prove myself attitude?
Yeah, the only player we have in the lineup right now that is Cole Schwindt, because we've benched Holtz. We've health bombed him twice now in the last 2 weeks, in the last 2 games. He has not played. He's played terribly, by the way, and I'd much rather have Paul Cotter right now. God, that was a terrible trade. But that's not the point. This is a stat that's going to highlight this theory about, because right now our best players aren't our best players.
Yeah.
Right now, Hurdle. Pavel Dorofeev leads the team in goals.
And he has for a while.
He has for a very long time.
I'm pretty sure that we said that back in December, and you're like, I'm so surprised that that's our lead.
Now, I'm very happy to see it because somebody has to replace Marchessault goals, and he's doing a great job of it. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a shocker. How many goals, or how many games do you think it's been since Jack Eichel has scored a goal?
7.
More.
12.
More.
20.
A little less. He hasn't scored in 18 games now.
Oh my God.
He hasn't scored in almost a quarter of the season.
Eichel, what are you doing?
Now, he's put up a fucktillion points. He's got a ton of assists. He's still top 5 in the NHL in assists. And he's on pace to break the team record in points with just assists right now.
Okay, so he's doing his job. He just can't. The man can't score.
The first line has been quiet. So quiet. Especially the last 5 games. Stone had a goal in 4 straight games to start the year, which was awesome. He scored against Philly. He scored against Buffalo. He scored against the Sharks. And he scored, I believe, one of the goals against the New York teams. He's very good. He was playing very good. Hasn't done shit since.
That adds to my theory of he doesn't want to get hurt. Like, they don't want to get hurt.
They're getting out-muscled on the boards. Mm-hmm. They have just no puck pursuit. And so I'm starting to buy into your theory because I hadn't thought about the mitigating injuries. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is this team just has to get to the 4 Nations break. They have to get to the 4 Nations break. And I'm sure
what's happening is they're just like, all right, let's pick up points where we can and let's coast, because think about it.
We get a week off.
They're not battling at the boards. They're not opening themselves up to someone else to injure them. They're not rushing after the puck, which means that they are protecting their muscles.
They're not winning net front battles. Like, that's why Hannafin Pietrangelo has been so bad recently, because they can't win a stick battle in front of our own net. And so they're letting too many people screen the goalie, and it is a war zone in front of the net, and we're not even showing up. Like, there are too many nights recently, especially on this losing streak, because that's 3 in a row now.
Too many nights.
Yeah. Where we don't even show up on time. Game starts at 7 and we don't even start playing until 8:15. And so by that point, the game's already over.
We have that too right now.
Again, I'm not surprised because it's January, but I'm surprised that we don't have the usual excuse for why January is January. And it's concerning. And
buy into my theory and it won't be so concerning anymore.
Well, it's concerning because I'm buying into your theory. This is a team that has aspirations of not just winning the Stanley Cup, winning the division, and was at one point the best team in the league with a comfortable margin, and has since come back to be tied on points with Edmonton. And if LA wins all their games in hand, they'll be 1 point back.
Here's the thing, though. You don't have to win your division in order to go and get all the way to the Cup.
No, and if it's any consolation, Vegas has a 10-point cushion back to the 4th place team in the Pacific, which is Vancouver, who are about to...
As long as they start to kind of, keep putting up the points.
Just my goal. This is the last thing I'm going to say about this for this rant, because you still have to talk about the Wild, and I've taken 20 minutes. And I'm sorry for the listener, but I'm very frustrated about this. It doesn't come across very well, but I'm very frustrated about this.
It's because he's talked about it enough.
I'm numb to it at this point.
Yeah, you've talked about it enough where I think you can talk about it without losing your shit.
Yeah. Now, next episode, something else will have happened, probably. What I will consider a win for this Vegas team, given their current play, because they got St. Louis coming up next, and we have never played a single normal game against the Blues ever. Like, ever, period, ever. Mm-hmm. If they're able to be in a top 3 spot in the Pacific, still within touching distance of first place, by the time everybody fucks off to the Four Nations, I'll be happy.
Yeah, and I think I'm buying more and more into that theory of they don't want to get hurt, because I also think that part of it is, okay, now we have like the system of we're basically guaranteed a playoff spot now. Can we not even game the system, but can we almost like mitigate who we're going to play in the first round?
I just hopped out of my chair for a second because I just had an epiphany.
I know you did. What was it?
All the players that are underperforming right now are all of our players that are going to the Four Nations. Because our 3 worst defensemen right now, Pietrangelo, Hanifin, Theodore. 3 defensemen going to the Four Nations, those 3. Mm-hmm. Our forwards that are struggling, Eichel, Stone, Carlson, all going to the Four Nations.
Well, I'm wondering if they're also getting run down because they're going to practices. Because that team has to practice too.
Okay, I'm done now. I think everything just made sense.
Based on what I said and based on what you realized.
Yeah, it all makes sense. Like, it's disappointing. This team is better than this, but they have a good enough coach. Like, Bruce is an incredible coach. He'll get them through this.
Here's the thing. Just wait till after Four Nations.
Just stay in touching distance of the division at the Four Nations break. And then just do what we do every year. Just go on a run after the break.
Exactly.
Because we always are on fire after the All-Star break.
So I think your team's getting run down too.
I'm not going to say if I had to put my concern on a scale of 1 to 5, I'm at like a strong 3.5.
Yeah.
Bordering on 4. But I'm nowhere near a concern level of 5.
Yeah.
Which is where you are right now.
I'm actually not. So I would like to preface this by saying Minnesota sports fans are dramatic.
Especially with the Vikings getting run the fuck over.
I mean, no, just in general. We're dramatic. We're so dramatic. It's because, like, Timberwolves last year, they make it all the way to the freaking, like, what was it? The championship.
Hold on, I'm showing a text thread. I sent the proof of McDavid's of McDavid's hearing
I love that response.
In my family group chat, and my dad sends back a gif of the pretty please from Despicable Me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But God.
Cynical Minnesota sports fans.
Thank you. I'm like, where was I?
Cynical sports fans.
Yeah, I said this before. Say it again. I really need to make a bingo card.
Yeah,
and put it out on Twitter.
Do it. We'll do it when we have some free time. Minnesota
sports fans have trust issues. Edition number like 53 at this point. We go on a run at the beginning of the year. It's fantastic.
Yep.
And then November hits and we're a little shaky because we get injuries, and then December hits and then we're like maybe 500. I'm sure it's not as bad as it seems, you know, because we are winning. Like, what we'll do is we'll lose like 2 or 3 in a row, and then we'll win like a few in a row, and then we'll go back to that. So it's not as bad as it seems because we're still way better off. And everyone's like, I mean, if you check any Wild posts on any platforms, they're all, yep, we're going to get to the first round and get kicked again. That's what everyone says.
Yep.
After losing to one fucking team.
Yep.
We lose and we're like, damn, we're bad. But I'd like to also point out that 2 of our main people that bring a lot of fire to the team, and I would argue that Lauco is definitely doing that. He's been out.
Yep.
Kaprizov's been out. So, and at one point Trenton was out. So I would like to say to those people, you need to remember that people have line mates that they always play with, and play styles are not always going to gel. And so because of that, you're going to have these mixed up lines where it looks like you threw them in a blender.
Blender.
And you're going to have one AHL line because it's just going to have to be how it is right now because we don't have the $15 million in cap space yet. So
right.
You need to remember that everyone plays on a line with people and it's consistent. You also need to remember now, yes, we have Faber back. Obviously didn't make a difference last night because fuck us. But
that was more of a principle game. That was a beat the crap out of the people who hurt Spurgeon game.
Yeah,
that was less of a game and more of a melee.
Yeah, there was a lot of fighting in the first. Holy crap.
Yeah, winning the game on paper wasn't the objective last night. Winning the game in principle was the objective.
I also think that, like, our defense let Fleury out to dry. Oh, my God.
Yeah, how many saves did he make? How many shots did he face? It was like 35?
Minimum 35. I don't remember what it ended. I turned it off after they scored.
The only thing that makes me happy is that it looks like, barring a major collapse, Fleury is going to get to have his last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's going to be
after
nice.
finally having his streak end, which was very sad.
Yeah, that was upsetting to all of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would also say that at the end of the day, like, Chisholm's not the answer. He's not the answer to the top defenseman because he had a -3 yesterday. He had a -3 last night alone.
Yeah, and I mean the guy that the Wild have brought in to replace him scored.
Yeah, no, I'm a fan of Yarchek. I think that was a good move.
Small sample size, but
no, I think it was a good move though because
it was a lot of assets. It better be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll
hang your ass out like that and your assets like
yeah, and that's something we'll talk about as we get closer to February, as we get closer to the deadline. Trade targets for both our teams.
Yeah,
that's something we're going to have to talk about with the Wild is the fact that they traded most of their valuable assets in December to get Juracek. Now it's panned out. He's played very well, and he's a good seventh defenseman. Because of all the injuries.
Yeah, and that will ramp up too.
Yeah, like he's probably taking Chisholm's job. I would imagine. On a fully healthy, well, let me ask you this: on a fully healthy Minnesota roster,
who would you pair?
Who would you put? Because Chisholm will slide down to the third pair, where he belongs.
No, never.
He does not belong.
He doesn't belong there, but
he doesn't belong on the top pair.
It's never going to happen.
Is it just that Hines is so enamored with the righty-lefty matchup?
I don't think it's Hines.
Guerin?
I think it's Guerin.
Well, somebody needs to tell Billy G to get off his thumbs. He screwed up Team USA pretty badly.
I'm not going to get into
We'll talk about that. There's a controversy brewing there. We'll talk about it on the next episode.
Okay, awesome. Great. I get to defend Bill Guerin again.
Actually, it's not his fault.
No, I know, which is why I'm like, I get to defend him. Yeah,
you get to dump on the Leafs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, but I think if Juracek's in the lineup and if we have a healthy defenseman, it's hard, right? Because we just picked up Dermott.
And now he's not playing.
I like him, and I like the issue is I like all of our defensemen, so it's really hard to pick.
Well, and I said we weren't going to talk about trades, but Dermott and Merrill are both tradable assets now.
No, I know. And I love both. I actually appreciate Dermott and what he brings because he brings a physicality element that we're kind of missing.
Yeah.
So great third pair. But and the thing is okay. Well, if I had to pick,
Yep.
I'd trade Merrill.
Yep.
I'd trade Dermott. I'd keep Brodin and pair him with Bogosian. I'd pair Juracek and Faber together, and I'd keep Chisholm with Spurgeon. Even though I think we should trade Chisholm and get him for an asset.
Yeah, and Rossi,
I'm coming around to. He just needs to develop more consistency. I know.
How dare you come around on a player you have bad mouthed for all year?
To be fair, I was coming around on Chisholm, and then he fucked up.
You were not a believer.
Belieber.
You heard me.
I never listened to Justin Bieber.
That's fair.
I'm glad I'm not a believer. Because God, that saying that is like 2008, 2012. Justin Bieber.
Yes.
Ugh. But yeah, I would say that that's probably what I would do with the defense.
Yeah.
Which I don't like, but...
Well, I mean, the Wild are in a bit of a slump right now.
They
but
are,
your
but...
slump is injury related.
Yeah.
Not play related.
I was going to say, please, because like when we played you guys, we did not have Faber, we did not have Spurgeon, we did not have Brodin, we did not have Kaprizov, and we did not have Lauko.
Yeah, we were basically playing the Iowa Wild plus.
No, I want to give our players more credit than that. But what the fuck is happening with Matt Boldy, man?
He's angy and he's scoring, but he's angy.
He's not even angy. He's barely scoring.
Well, he scored against us.
Well, yeah, but I just need him to be more consistent because the amount of times that he has whiffed the freaking puck.
Oh, you're talking about last night when he missed a wide open net.
No, not even that. Whiffing.
That's fair.
He whiffs way too many. I get it. Get the shot off, and sometimes you just miss. But oh my God.
Yeah.
You need to hit at least some of those. And I know, and here's the thing. Not everyone's going to go in. Not every goal is going to be beautiful. You can't expect that. But I can at least expect the player that's on the top line to not whiff the puck as much as he does. And I think he just needs to slow down and take a breath.
He's trying to do everything too fast.
He is. It's like, and you know this because you used to help coach baseball. You need just to take a breath and not swing for the fences. Just focus on the ball.
Yeah. Just hit the thing.
Because when you try to swing for the fences, you strike out.
Yeah.
Because you're swinging at everything because you want it so badly, and you just need to not do that.
Yeah, he's Boldy, at least the little bit I've seen recently, he's been running around like a golden retriever chasing after a tennis ball. He's like, oh, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get the puck. I'm going to get the puck. I'm going to score the puck. I'm not going to score. Next shift. I'm going to get it. Nothing.
Yeah, like I like him and Rossi together, which is why I'm like, I understand not trading Rossi, but here's what I'm going to pose to people. Do you keep Rossi as an asset, or do you try to trade him to get a slightly better asset?
At this point, you don't have a choice but to keep him.
I know.
If the Wild were going to trade him, they would have traded him in December.
Well, and all the IRs and stuff and everything that's going on with the Wild.
Don't have a choice.
They don't have a choice because they have cap issues.
Yeah, you can't subtract right now. You kind of have to just hold serve. This year, I can't believe I'm about to say this, and I'm going to offend a lot of people by saying this.
Oh, God. Okay.
The Wild are in the exact same spot that the Vikings are. No one expects anything of them this year. This year is a stopgap for next year. You know, the Vikings were only supposed to win 3 games this year, and they got all the way to the playoffs. This was supposed to be the year that they just got through and then let J.J. McCarthy take over next year. Just like the Wild this year, they just got to get through this year, and then they get all their buyout penalties gone, and they can actually spend real money.
See, I don't
So they're
like that.
well, the Wild are massively overperforming their team, like their cap budget.
Oh, I know.
Like this team with this much cap space, the only other teams that spend this much are like that spend as little as the Wild are Buffalo, Anaheim, San Jose, Ottawa, Detroit, Columbus.
So I usually, you know this, I don't credit Bill Guerin a lot. But
Don't give him credit for this.
No, but I will. I'm not giving him credit for us overperforming. I will give him credit for learning how to navigate the cap space that he put himself in.
Yeah. That's fair. He's done a good job managing.
I didn't give him credit. I just kind of sidestepped the issue and sidestepped the credit.
Yep.
So I don't have anything else to add because a lot of my grievances were already aired about. I will just wrap it up with this. And you can tell I'm struggling. What?
I'm going to bring us back. I'm going to circle us back to the way we started this conversation,
God.
so we can finish it off with a bang. Online from a Edmonton insider, quote: Connor McDavid's the best player in the world. If the refs aren't going to stop this from happening, I'm fine with how McDavid reacted. 100% fine with it. Basically, everybody in the Edmonton fan base is saying if they had just called a penalty on Garland, none of this would have happened.
I call bullshit.
I call bullshit too.
Because this is the third time this week.
Yeah, like if it was the first time.
This is why I hate it. This is why I hate these type of fans.
If you can't tell, we all hate Edmonton very much.
I mean, I do. But it's because their fan base and most of what's happening right now is what I hate about people who stand their own team and who can't learn to look at it objectively.
Yeah.
What did you call it? A homer?
Homer.
Which means that you are for the home team no matter what, and everything that they do is right and nothing is wrong in your eyes.
Yeah, no.
You can't say that McDavid for the last 3 games hasn't actively injured and done shit that if it was done to your player, you would fucking freak the hell out.
Yeah.
So don't fucking sit here and act like this is nothing, because this is actually a very big issue. And will continue to be a big issue. And I guarantee you, if the NHL does not do the proper thing here, they are actually going to actively lose people watching this. Like, they are actively going to lose viewers. They're going to lose revenue. They're set to hit one of the biggest, like, revenue streams that they've ever had. And they're going to fuck it up.
Yeah, it's going to be a time.
They're going to fuck it up. So they better not, is all I got to say to that. But going back to my earlier comment, because I want to wrap this up before we say goodbye.
Yep.
This is why I have issues with refs. And this is why I say what I say about the Minnesota Wild, because literally the thing I said about Juracek getting his stick slashed out of his hand yesterday, like it went up into the air, like probably 10 feet. And then got hit in the face. This is why I'm very, very passionate. Passionate is the word I'm going to use, about teams that are, about refs, I think not even teams, about refs and making sure that the league actually calls stuff, right?
Right.
Because at the end of the day,
why'd you throw that?
Because you weren't paying attention.
Snaps headphones. It's all I can pay attention to. I'm seeing if they'd sent out anything from the player safety office yet.
No.
I wanted to make sure that we didn't miss anything.
No. I lost my train of thought because you were distracting me.
That's on you. Something about injuries and player safety.
No, but I say like the whole refs don't call things, and I actually feel like sometimes that the refs have something against us, because I'm just like, okay, there's no way that we have this many injuries, especially when our players are like, it's crazy the amount of injuries that are happening.
Yep.
Like, I don't think the refs have something against us, but I think that the league has a very big issue, and it's manifesting in ways like the Minnesota Wild having way too many people on IR.
Hey, the last thing I'm going to say before we wrap up, and this will be one of those full circle moments. The same ref that reffed the Edmonton, Minnesota game is the same ref that reffed the Minnesota, Seattle game at the start of the year, which was... Yeah.
That was the one where I think I got an elbow to the face and ended up having a broken nose. Ref didn't call shit.
And then the phantom tripping penalty.
Where the ref's like, oh, my bad. Well, fucker, you just gave the game, you just gave them something.
Yes.
You just completely changed the game.
In the words of Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda, there are no accidents.
And that's the thing. That's why I'm like, I fucking hate refs sometimes, because it's like, if we're being stupid, you've heard me. We're stupid one time, and I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Yep.
It's not on the refs if you are stupid and you get caught.
But it's the actively turning a blind eye because it's a high-profile player stuff.
Or not even that. It's just actively turning a blind eye because you don't feel like calling it, or it's the last 2 minutes of the game, or, oh, the penalties are even. Fuck that. If you do the crime, do the fucking time, for fuck's sake.
All right. And with that, I think we have the ability to wrap it up before we start saying anything even further stupid. So thank you very much for listening.
I didn't say anything stupid.
You were trending towards it. I had to catch you. You were about to...
I was going to wrap up.
All right, fine. Thank you very much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We know we took a very long break, but we should be back to our regularly scheduled programming of at least 2 to 3 uploads a week.
Hopefully,
barring our crazy ass schedules. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for listening.
Subscribe.
Hit the buttons. If you're following this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you are on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast, hit the button that allows you to get notifications when we upload new episodes. Spring's going to be crazy, especially with playoffs on the horizon, and God only knows what else we're going to do on this podcast. You're definitely not going to want to miss an episode. One of us is going to descend into madness. It's going to be a good time. So that being said, thank you very much for listening, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.
Bye.